Guys, give me 2 seconds here as I kind of get used to it all. I'm in a whole different place here. Hey guys, how you going? So down BKR Sport. Yeah, I'm in a completely, well, I'm not in a completely different place. I'm just in a different room right now. So the lighting's a little bit different. You guys probably don't, well, you guys wouldn't notice anything different because I've obviously got this green screen behind me. But yeah, look, today's going to be a bit of a chill video. We're just going to be sitting back here on a Monday night talking about, obviously, a wild weekend of rugby league action in the finals week one. Just absolutely crazy. Plus, obviously, we can speak a bit about this week as well. Obviously, I do have my tipping video that will still come out. Now, I don't have to do a punishment because I got enough right. Thankfully, thank you to the Rabbitohs for getting me over the line there in the end. But yeah, absolutely crazy week that has just gone down, and I'm super keen to see what you guys have to say about it and chat away about it. And yeah, let's go through the results on the weekend before we do get into the chat. So obviously, we saw the first game, which was the Panthers 27-8 over the Eels. I actually thought that was going to be a ripper game, but it turned out to be a bit of a fizzler. But then again, it might not have been a fizzler if we didn't get the next three games that came after that, as crazy as they were. Look, obviously, the Panthers were just simply too good in that game, and the Eels, but actually, I think people forget the Eels were very competitive for a good 60 minutes. They were actually leading, I think, 8-6 or 8-7, sorry, going into the 60-minute mark before obviously the Panthers pulled away in the end, and Mitchell Moses being out really did obviously hamper them, but they had a couple of outs as well throughout. But yeah, obviously the Panthers were too good there, and honestly, guys, I really can't see anyone winning this year besides Penrith. But it'd be amazing to see one of the other guys who is obviously the Cowboys, the Raiders, or sorry, the Cowboys. The Cowboys, Raiders, or Eels will be the team to take on either the Panthers, Rabbitohs, or Sharks. But like I said, I think Panthers do go on to that grand final. Storm and Raiders game, now that was absolutely crazy. The Raiders were massive underdogs there and were able to come through in Melbourne. They have got a 5 in a row record against Melbourne in Melbourne now. So it wasn't insanely of a surprise that it happened, but it was still a surprise that Melbourne got knocked out first week, especially when the Raiders were kind of lucky to be in the 8. Let's be honest, the Broncos did capitulate. I don't even know. Could the Broncos have beaten the Storm in that game? I don't know. It would have been interesting to see if they got there. But obviously the Raiders got there at the end, and they looked really nice. I'm not going to lie. They looked really nice. I loved that pass from Tarpanay to Jack Whiten, who broke away. Matty Tomoko, I've been saying for years now, he's underrated. He's a good little centre there. Not the best centre ever, but definitely an underrated centre is what I would say. I've been saying it to you guys for years now. Go back and check the centre rankings that we've been doing. And yeah, I was impressed by them. I honestly think they'll give the Eels a good shake this week. I think they'll give the Eels a good shake this week. Do I think that the Raiders are going to win? I don't know. You'll have to watch my my tipping video for that one, but I think the Raiders will give it a solid go, and I don't think that that we should be counting them out lightly, because I think that a lot of people obviously thought the Storm were going to absolutely wallop them. I kept saying I'm tipping the Storm, but I'm taking them 1-12 there because I do know the Raiders. They have a good bit of defense. Their attack is usually quite stuttering. I guess against a better team defensively, the Storm have been a little bit all over the shop this year. The Storm are not the same of old. So maybe against a bit of a better team defensively, you might have seen the Rays stutter a bit more. But overall, they won the game and they go through play the Eels and knockout this week coming up. Sharkies and Cowboys game. Now that was just all over the shop. It was actually lacking in a lot of substance for the first 50 minutes for me. I didn't really enjoy the first 50 to 60 minutes as much as I thought I should have, considering that the scores were very close and tight. And obviously I have an investment there from my mum, who's a Sharks fan. I just didn't really feel too much about it, but that last 20 minutes, it really kicked up a notch, and obviously the Sharkies were leading 30-22 with about 3 or 4 minutes to go, but the Cowboys were able to come back in that game and kick a penalty, which I still believe was the wrong decision at the time, but it has worked out in hindsight, but I probably would have gone about things differently in that situation, but the Cowboys did take the 2, and then they got the try with like 40 seconds to go in the game, where the Sharkies had a player out, obviously with a sin bin, and then ended up seeing a Valentine Holmes 45-metre field goal to kick that one home. That was an incredible finish there. But no, that was a really, really fun last 20 minutes for me. Like I said, first 50-60 really lacked a bit of substance, but outside of that, it was still close the entire time and ended up as an absolute all-time finals game. And then, wow, yesterday was a game, eh? Yesterday was a game, eh? Roosters and Rabbitohs, 30-14 to the Rabbitohs. Oh, geez. That one had everything, like 7 sin bins, punch-ons. I honestly lost a bit of my voice last night. That's how crazy we were going in the stream. I lost my voice a little bit from how much that game was just going off. And yeah, I think that for me that was my finals game, my favorite finals game of the weekend, and I think that was my favorite finals game I've seen in a very, very long time. Buzz Rothfield needs to go to bed if he thinks that people shouldn't enjoy that and should go watch UFC instead. Like, you're an idiot. Like, you came from that era. You came from the era that game happened. Like, how can you be saying go watch the UFC? You are from that era. Like, that is what you grew up enjoying. So how can you now say that was? I think he's just being an idiot. I really do. I think he's just trying to get people to be annoyed with him, so that obviously he's in the media. He wants people to talk about him. Okay, cool. Here you go. You're an idiot. But yeah, look, Rabbitohs came through in the end. I did tip the Rabbitohs. I thought the Rabbitohs would be too good. And yeah, it was weird because I had been predicting and saying to you guys since halfway through the season that I saw the Roosters the dark horse. I saw them get into the grand final. And up until maybe 2 weeks ago, I was like that. But then if you guys watch me on my streams and my tipping videos, you would have seen a bit of a change where I thought maybe this team isn't exactly where I thought. And that's why I took the Rabbitohs, who I don't think go far. Like, it's going to be a tough matchup for them for the Sharkies this week. It is at Allianz, though, and that's going to be the first time the Sharks play at this new stadium in 3 or 4 years. Rabbitohs have now got 2 games experience there. I personally, if I was the Sharkies, would have been wanting to take that to a core, even though Allianz is closer. But I would have taken it to a core simply because I just think that there's a bit of an advantage there for the Rabbitohs, which is the Sharks are meant to be the home team, so it does take it away from them. But overall, guys, absolutely fantastic week of footy. Now let's go into the chat and let's see what you guys are saying. Bing, bong, boom. Someone asked me to do a Kahoot again. Guys, the Kahoot is random. It will happen randomly. We're not going to be doing Kahoots every week, every night. It's probably going to be like maybe once a month at best, maybe once every 2 months. Like, it's not going to happen too frequently. But guys, obviously hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new around here. We're about, I think, 10 subscribers away from 19,100. So we're on our way to 20k already, baby. Let's see if we can get there by the grand final. Let's see if we can get to 20k by the grand final. I don't know if we'll be able to do it. It's going to be pushing it. That's 900 subscribers in about 3 weeks, but it's definitely possible. And if not, then let's get it by the Rugby League World Cup, which is in about 5 weeks now, I think. About 4 or 5 weeks now, which is going to be absolutely insane. JC Clan says Storm got robbed. Boo the referees. I'm pissed off at the Raiders and the refs. Okay, yep, you're also an idiot. Levi Ben says, hi, hello, Levi, how you doing? Any West Prod says, I'm just happy the Storm lost. I hate the Storm. A lot of people have that, and it's funny because I was going to put a video out last week of who I'm going to be supporting in the finals, right? Because I was going to do a 1 through 8 in order of who I would prefer to win the grand final. And I could still do that this week because I would have had the Storm and the Roosters in 8 and 7. Not because I hate these two teams, but because they've had enough success for me. I want to see new teams win it. And that's why, although Eels fans are incredibly intolerable and incredibly annoying, I want to see Eels win this year. I would love to see the Eels win this year because it's been 36 years. They've had a really tough slog at it. I know how it feels to support a shit team. I love my shit team, but I still know how it feels to support a shit team. So for Parramatta fans, I think it would be, I would be there, obviously, with Hayden at Attain House, who I'll be going to the grand final with, and I would be there, and it would just be a moment. It'd be an emotional moment for them to do it. So I would love to see the Eels do it. Sharkies do it, obviously, for my mum. Cowboys, because I win money. And that would be also a really good storyline that the Cowboys were predicted last, came 15th last year, and then ended up winning the competition in the end. So those are my 3 preferences. Obviously, I'd probably put Panthers in 6, to be honest with you. But I don't really have a problem with Panthers winning it, to be honest with you. I think the Panthers are a great team. I love their storyline of where they were 5-10 years ago to where they are now, and even if they won back-to-back, it's not fresh. It's still kind of fresh. People forget this. They won once, right? They've only won once in the last 20-odd years, right? So it's still fresh for the Panthers to win this year. If they were to go next year, that's when I'd be like, okay, I kind of want somebody else to win it now. But yeah, look, the Raiders, I would love to see them win as well. I would love to see them win as well. Canberra haven't won in 29 years or something like that since around I was born. I think it was 94 when I was born. So it'd be, 28 years going on 29 next year. So they definitely are a team that I really wouldn't mind. So yeah, look, there's probably 5. I don't really care who wins from here on out, to be honest with you. I'm just enjoying these finals. Not Bolsters, who do you got, Raiders or Eels? So I'm not going to give you my tips here today, guys. I'll give you my thoughts on the game, but I'll do my tipping video, obviously, tomorrow. So you'll see the tipping video come out tomorrow night with my official tips. As Abraham says, you're still doing boxing, or you're doing boxing or Bledisloe, still deciding. It's a hard one, man. I might do like a stream on Wednesday and get you guys' thoughts on it because it's a hard one. Obviously, I want to do the Wallabies versus All Blacks game. It's a huge game down there in Melbourne. It's stupid timing to put it on Thursday, but I get it because obviously the AFL is on. But the thing is, people in Melbourne probably aren't going to be watching this game anyway. So why? People. I don't understand why they put that game on Thursday. is what I'm trying to say here. I don't understand why they put that game on Thursday. It makes no sense to me. If the AFL's on there and they can't use that stadium, cool. You could have used Suncorp. You could have used anywhere else. It makes no sense to me why they have that naming part. But it is what it is. We move on. But yeah, I'm not too sure yet, mate. I really don't know which one I'm going to do because Gal, obviously, we got robbed. You're an idiot, mate. Like, I can't believe a Storm fan's talking about robbery. Like, mate, the last 20, 30 years, your team has been cheating the salary cap. You've been getting plenty of wins from a dubious standing point, very controversial wins, and you have the audacity to say you got robbed in a game that I don't even know how you got robbed. Like, I'm an unbiased spectator here. If the Storm won, the Storm won. Storm lose, the Storm lose. I'll tell you my honest opinion. And even if I did have a biased opinion, I'd still give you an honest opinion away from the bias. And I don't understand how you think you got robbed in that game. The Raiders were too good. The Raiders were a better team than you. The Raiders were a better team, simply said. Mevers says, you're literally a bad troll. At least put in some effort to JSD Clan. No, I think JSD probably does genuinely believe that his team got robbed. He's just probably just a bit of a muppet. Teddy got robbed of brain cells. Yeah, a lot of players probably got robbed of brain cells in that Rabbitohs Roosters game. Brian Robinson says, a lot of people are downplaying the Chooks Rabbits game because of all the sin bins. For me, it just made it even better. I still reckon game 3 was better, faster, less stoppages and closer. I think that in the moment, I thought that was the best game I've ever watched. But I think that when you step back from it after the emotion of that game, I'd say that game 3 for me this year was better. And I'd still say probably that Roosters-Tigers game 2010 was ultimately better. But I think that the raw emotion and the raw passion from that cultural, historical rivalry that we saw yesterday was still absolutely top 3 all time. Like, it was an incredible game from the start to the end. Sin bins, punch-ons. It brought it back to the old days. I had a comment from one of you guys, Gary, who's a Raiders fan of the channel, very passionate Raiders fan. He commented saying, like, it brought him back to his youth. And I love that comment because it's like, this is what the game used to be. If you don't like it, if you don't like yesterday's game, then feel free to stop complaining and stop saying, I don't want to hear anyone say, bring back the Biff, right? You cannot say, bring back the Biff and then have not enjoyed yesterday's game. It's as simple as that. I don't know anyone who doesn't say, bring back the Biff. So what do you mean? What do you mean? You want the Biff back, but yet you didn't like yesterday's game. Yesterday's game was all about bringing back the Biff. Hello? It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense, the hate that's coming for it. I get the people like Buzz Rothfield who want to come out and make a scene. I get those guys who want to have their names shone in light saying, you know what, it's not the game that we've developed. And it's like, it hasn't been the game that we've developed. But it brought us back to a time when this was what the game was like. And that wasn't even as crazy as what it used to be like. So what I will say is, you don't have to like that game yesterday. I think it was one of the best games I've watched. You don't have to like it. But please don't ever say the words, bring back the Biff, and then say you don't like that game. Because it was an incredible game if you loved that. Dasmate says Titans robbed. Hey, Titans are in the prelim. What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. NRL Staff says it was a great game, nail-biting. I think the nail-biting game for me was more so Sharks Cowboys. I don't necessarily think Rabbitohs Roosters. Well, it was for quite a bit there. But then the last, obviously, 20 when the Roosters were tied because they had no players on the bench. Then it wasn't nail-biting. Sharks, Cowboys, and Roosters South game was simply. I still think the Raiders Storm game was very good. I think the Storm Raiders game was very good. I just think the people are forgetting about it because of how good those other two games were as well. JC Clan says, and you're still talking. Get watch something else there. They're just talking about him. Dasmate says, no, yesterday was shit. Go watch UFC, everyone. Yeah, well, UFC is great too. Holmes is just about the best clutch player at the moment. I think you're thinking recency bias. He's still done quite a bit. Yeah, maybe at the moment, maybe. But in the same sense, you guys were all shitting on him. Well, everyone was. I was included. When I say you guys, I kind of mean myself as well most of the time. But everyone was kind of shitting on him up until this year, saying he wasn't good. And he wasn't. He wasn't playing well up until this year. But obviously, the entire Cowboys organisation has had a really big rejuvenation. And Valentine Holmes has been a big part of that. He's been a massive part of that. I can't believe Storm supporters are crying after being eliminated first week. Yeah, I know, wank. Sergeant Kelson says, who do you think will play in the Titans in the prelim, Sharks or Rabbitohs? I'm not going to give you my tip, like I said, man. I'm not going to give you my tip because I do have my tipping video that will be coming out tomorrow. I will have my tipping video coming out tomorrow, but I think it's going to be a really tough game to predict because I think that people are really underestimating both those teams based on the fact they had two long slogs. You know, the Sharks had a 93-minute game. The Rabbitohs had a 80-minute game, but like suspensions and injuries coming out of that one. I personally would say that although the Sharks game went for an extra 13 minutes, I would say that the Rabbitohs are probably feeling the worst than the Sharks right now. I think their bodies will be a little bit more tired than the Sharkies, but that's just me. I just think that there's something that the Rugby League Guru posted yesterday on Instagram that I thought was a perfect summary of this weekend, right? So the Cowboys and Sharks went for 93 minutes of slugging it out. Yeah, their bodies are tired. Lucky for the Cowboys, they get a week off. Unlucky for the Sharks, have to play next week. The Rabbitohs absolutely got bashed and absolutely smashed by the Roosters. One game, but those two teams bash each other. So now those teams play off. Now, when they bash each other, they then have a fresh-rested Penrith team that has had Cleary has only had one game, had another fresh rest, and then it won't be in Penrith, it'll be at a core. But then they'll play Penrith as the home team, a fresh rest of Penrith after 2 grueling weeks of getting absolutely bashed, regardless if it's the Sharks or the Rabbitohs. Regardless. Lucky for the Cowboys, they get that week off. But this Rays-Eels game this week is going to be... it'll be mediocre physical. It won't be insanely physical because I think both these teams can score. I think this is going to be quite a high-scoring game between the Rays and Eels. And then they play the Cowboys and... it's really weird to say that there's going to be a grand final team this year of the Raiders, Eels, and Cowboys. Like, it's weird to say there's no Storm or Roosters in the competition anymore for me. It really does seem a bit weird. JHT claims this bullshit though. Your bullshit. Brian Robinson says, I call you Brian. Brighton Robinson says 93rd minute, 45-minute field goal is just outrageous. The fatigue and pressure involved in that shot, it was just absolutely... Can someone time JST clean that? You're annoying, mate. You're annoying, mate. If you can't admit that you're lost, then my God. God help you if you had to support a team that wasn't the Storm, mate. God help you if you had to support a team like the Titans or the Warriors or, a team like that. Truly, if you think that was bad, mate, you should try being a fan of a team who just are nowhere close to getting the calls go their way. In sport, if you're a good team, calls will go your way. You make your own luck, but calls will go your way. If you're bad, calls won't go your way. And you see that all the time in all sports, right? So Penrith never used to get it. Now they get it all the time. The Sharks are starting to get a bit more, maybe not so much, but there are teams that haven't had it recently, and now the calls go their way and a bit more in their favour. But then again, no matter what, there's always going to be people complaining. Like I said, I've complained about one game this year overall. I've complained about one game this year, and that was the first game of the season, Titans-Eels. That's all I complain about, because I know that you're going to get 50-50 calls. There were games this year that the Titans got 50-50 calls, and there were games this year that the opposition got 50-50 calls. The only game I had a problem with was that Titans-Eels game 1, which was blatantly and obviously incorrect from the refereeing. Besides that, I'm okay to lose to 50-50 calls, because that's just how the cookie crumbles, and those 50-50 calls will more than likely go with the team in the better position. It just is how it is. It just is how it is. Fiji7 says, do you think Moses will manage to play on Friday? I think they'll get him in, mate. Yeah, I think they'll get him in. Obviously, it's very difficult to believe anything the NRL is going to say, because the NRL has utilised the fan card and in the incorrect way. They could have used the fan card, like we're thinking about the fans in so many ways, but they used it in the incorrect way last week with Taylor May. It made them look silly. It made them look really stupid. I reckon they would have been sitting in their little office and saying, you know what? This is a really good way to get the fans back on side, because we're going to pretend like we're thinking about them, which they weren't doing, mind you. They weren't. If they thought they were doing that, well, then you're really ridiculously stupid if you thought that was what the fans would have wanted, because you're appeasing one set of fans. The other 15 fans are like, well, wait a second. Like, this is stupid, right? So it just was very silly. I think that they're going to go down the same route here and try and make sure Moses plays. Even though he had a concussion, which means he should be out this week, he's not going to be out this week. I don't believe so. If he is, then fair enough. But if he isn't, then if he's playing... Bones Boy says, Titans vs Sea Cows grand final. No, mate, Sea Cows aren't there, mate. Sea Cows aren't there. Snake Game says, it was back in the old days, there probably would have only been two sin bins. Yes, so that's the only issue that I could probably find, is that there was so many sin bins. But the biff was back, and then the sin bins came because the game has developed to a different point. So there's no way you can tell me that those sin bins weren't worthy. There might have been 1 or 2 sin bins that were a bit harsh, but in the same sense, there also was actually less sin bins than there probably should have. Because the first sin bin, the first high tackle from Burgess before the second one should have been a sin bin. Right, there was actually quite a few high tackles in that game that they were a bit lenient on in comparison. There could have well and truly been more than 7 sin bins in that game. And I think that the only reason there wasn't a player sent off was because they knew the referees in this final series have been very tentative to make a call. They don't want to be the reason a team gets knocked out, because everyone will come for them. Every single person will come for them and slaughter them. They don't want that. I found in the first 3 games, the referees were very, very lenient. But that 4th game, they were very, very strict. But it needed to be. They needed to be. You guys we watch the game, right? We get to watch it. we see a player play for 10 to 15 years. 10 to 15 years in total. In that time frame, they're going to get smacked across the head many times. This is what the NRL is trying to reduce and trying to get out of, because long-term effects of the health of the brain and the health of your mind and it's just simply your body health as well. If you continuously get hit over the head, you're going to have long-term lasting effects. Now that's cool that you want to see the game of the old. But this is where I go and defend the NRL side. It's cool you want to see the game of old with the bring back the biff and all that type of stuff. However, the players from back then are now having long-term lasting effects now. And because we're such a fresh sport, 108 years, 113 years is nothing. Nothing. All the sports around the world, maximum of like 120 years as a profession, or 140 years max. That's realistically nothing. Realistically is nothing, right? So we only get a technology in maybe the last 10 years at best. 10 years is probably the technology lasting. So those players are getting hit high. They need to be sin bins to prevent players from doing it. There needs to probably be harsher penalties and bigger fines so that players stop this, because it's unfortunate. It is a contact game. It is going to happen, but we need to limit it because these guys who we've seen from previous years are now really having long-term lasting effects. That says, Blaze, can we put duct tape? Yeah, time now. Tom Strattonbury says, Eels beat Raiders 24-20 and Sharks beat Rabbits 20-16. Like I said, I'm not going to give you my tip, but good on you. Good luck. Grant Marassi says, hi guys. Hello mate. Zempai says, I thought knowledge for lyrics would have been in the chat. Like, knowledge, if you're here, don't be ashamed. Your team lost so many players. It wasn't a bad loss. Knowledge probably isn't going to be tuning in. Knowledge probably isn't going to be tuning in. Actually, sorry. I don't know if there's a moderator here, so I'm just going to time this guy out. I'm just going to time you out. JST Clan, you're a flog, mate. Hold on one second. Let me just put you in a timeout. Bye-bye. 45 people here, 22 likes right now. Guys, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you're new around here. Keep shooting through your questions. Everyone cares about a winger I don't know what that is, so I'll go back a little bit. Grant Marassi says, do the Cows have the capability to beat the Panthers whenever they meet? I don't believe so. So the time they took each other on early on in the season, the Panthers won 22-0. I think that if I was to make a bet, no, I would say that the Panthers are going to be too good for them. And I would say that the Cowboys, although they are a quality team this year, I don't think they're going to be able to match the physicality of the Panthers. We saw them still concede 30 points to the Sharks. Regardless of the winner there, the team defended pretty poorly. Both of them, Cowboys and Sharks. You can't be giving up 30 points and thinking that was a fantastic game. Yes, winning 32-30 is an unreal result in regards to your attack, but the defense is still lackluster. You still have to have serious issues with how you defend in that game. So the Cowboys, they went up against the Panthers are a much better defensive side than the Sharkies. That was actually a bit of a down game for the Sharks and Cowboys defensively. However, it still happened, right? If they took on the Panthers, much different story. Much different story there. So that's my biggest issue with them. Zenbai says, Storm has never been out of the finals since 2010. Like, be realistic. Okay, yeah. NRL Staff says, yeah, I always feel for teams. Stop talking to that guy. He's an idiot. NRL Staff says, yeah, I always feel like teams. I feel for teams like the Tigers and Titans. Bink Bricks, I think the Eels Rays will be a 45-plus point scoring game. I don't know who will win. Depends on if Moses is playing, which it looks like he is. Yeah, he'll play. I reckon it'll be 45. Yeah, 45 plus is definitely likely. I think if you're going to bet on that game, you get on the over for sure. I think you're going to bet on that game, you get on the over, because the Raiders, they definitely can lead points. The Eels, they can lead points. They average over 20 points conceded every single game, and just conceded 28 to the Panthers as well. I think that the Eels are definitely the favourites for a reason. However, the Raiders can still score points. We saw that against the Melbourne Storm in Melbourne. So they scored 28 points in Melbourne. That's an impressive feat. Alfred says, who do you think will win versus... like I said, not going to be giving my tips tonight. They'll go tomorrow. Get Wise Nam. Your mouse says, I'm a Dragons fan and I can say Titans robbed in round 1. Yeah, it is what it is, mate. We move. A rare sight to see a Storm fan whinging. Yeah, it's kind of good, to be honest with you, mate. It's kind of good to see, one of those big teams having a bit of a cry here and there. Toxic man, big fella says, how do you think the Eels will go? I think that the Eels are a team that I could definitely see in the grand final, is what I would say. I could definitely see them. I think that after that Friday night game, they would have been hoping and praying they didn't have to come up against the likes of the Storm this week. I think the Storm would have beaten the Eels. I know they lost to the Raiders. I'm just saying Storm have a very good record against the Eels in finals. I think the Eels would have loved that the Raiders were the ones. And I actually think that the Eels don't match up well with the Sharkies. So I think that they're probably more happy about playing the Cowboys than the Sharks. So I'm not making my tip yet, but I'm just saying for the Eels, they've got a horrid record in week 2. So the Raiders would be loving that, thinking we can expose them here, we can really humiliate them here and knock them out in back-to-back straight sets in back-to-back years, which is something they are very, very infamous for doing. Am I surprised it happens? Absolutely not. I think the Raiders are a good team, but the Eels definitely are favourites for a reason, is what I'll say there. Bones Boys, this is my last ever membership. Well, that's only $5, mate. Get on to it. Bones Boys says the brain deterioration of the brain is such as the deterioration of the brain is such a serious thing. It is. Noel Stokes says they were admirable in defeat. Agreed, and didn't help with Teddy going off. No, Teddy going off is what really killed you. Teddy going off is what really ultimately killed the Roosters in the end, because they had to move Suwali to the back and Kevin Guava to the wing, and yeah, there was a lot that had to go into that game from the Roosters side of things. It's all part of it though, man. It's all part of it. Harry M says, I think the Rays can beat the Eels. They can. They definitely can. Given my snap at your mouth says, in my opinion, for Highshots, players should get suspended, not fined. People getting paid $500,000 don't care about a $10K fine. I will disagree with you. I still think they definitely care about a $10,000 fine. I would say that. But you know, they definitely should get suspended and fined, is what I would say. I think they should get suspended and fined because, yeah, they want to play, but also I would be fining them as well. And if you really want to up the ante and you really want to be serious about it, then double it. Double a 10K, make it 20K. 20K will hurt. 10K hurts. It doesn't matter if you're only $500,000. 10K still hurts. I know that's less than 10%. That's what is that? 2% of your yearly earnings. I think that's off the top of my head. That's what it would be. But, you know, 10K would still hurt, but you make it 20. Now we're starting to get towards that 10% marker of your year. And that's just for one. You know what I'm saying? That's just for one high tackle. So, yeah, it's something the NRL does need to consider if they want to really lock down on it. Speedy W, so it says go to Cowboys. Yeah, looking all right now, mate. Nigel so I hope the Sharks win it, but it's looking like Penrith again. I just don't know if either team on this side of the draw, Sharks or Rabbitohs, can take down the Panthers because of the fact that they've both come through just insufferable games in regards to physicality. And then you go up against a Penrith team that is well-rested, refreshed, a week off, didn't get bashed against the Eels, to be honest with you, and have a full team. I don't know if the Sharks or Rabbitohs, regardless of who goes through, can take them down. But it will be an impressive result. And whoever takes down the Panthers, surely, if the Panthers get beaten there, surely that's the team that wins the comp. Because the Panthers are the best team in the comp. Snaky Games, it's actually incredible that the Cowboys are going to finish at least top 4 when everyone thought they would be 15-12, including me. Mate, they already finished top 4. They already finished third. The finals, we don't look at that now. You can say prelim, you can say that, but it's not finishing top 4. Finishing top 4 is already done. That was the Eels, the Sharks, the Cowboys, and the Panthers. And now we move into, you say they're making the prelim and stuff like that, because top 4, that's not really what we refer to. But you're right, you're absolutely right. It's amazing. You know, everyone had them for the bottom area. And like I said on the stream on the weekend, mate, it was absolutely acceptable and fine to be saying that last year or at the beginning of this year. It was, at the time, a realistic option for the Cowboys to be going in last or going into the bottom 4. It was a realistic thought process. However, they obviously turned it around, and they obviously, in hindsight now, have shown that they are a good team. But back then, it was acceptable, and it was very well understanding that the Cowboys had that in them because they came 15th last year. You know, they didn't really improve from what we saw on face value. But on face value, it doesn't necessarily work all the time. This is why people say, regardless of the team on paper, any team can win, right? Any team can win. So, yeah, the Cowboys have really surprised everyone, and it's been a really impressive season for them. Even if they lose in the prelim, regardless of where they finish, they've had a fantastic season. Grant Marassi says, from your own opinion, can the Jonathan Thurston 2015 Cowboys at the grand final beat the 2021 Panthers in a grand final match? I think the Panthers win that matchup. Yeah, I think the Panthers probably beat that 2015 Cowboys team. They were good teams, the Broncos and Cowboys, but I think that last year's Panthers probably have a little bit too much of a stranglehold in regards to the stopping the Cowboys from making the meters. The thing that this Panthers team does is they prevent you from getting out of your own 30, and then you're forced to kick from the 30 to 35, and then the Panthers are in a fresh attack right there. You know, they start their attack at the 50 or the 45 on their own side of the field. That's a positive attack, and that's a positive field position. So the reason why I think the Panthers would beat that Cowboys team is because I just think that the Panthers are a little bit more clicked on in regards to that kind of gameplay. Jake Wallace says, we knew the matchups were all going to be good, but I don't think anyone thought we would have such an incredible weekend. One of the best weeks I can remember. Hopefully this weekend brings up the same. Yeah, absolutely. This is what's been happening in sports since COVID hit. It's crazy to say that, but the AFL's been off chops. The NRL's off the chops right now. Premier League has gone crazy. Last year, we saw Man City win on the final day of the season by scoring 3 goals in the last 10 minutes, which is a regularity for City, to be honest with you. The NFL was at its peak last season. The NFL last season was absolutely at its peak. It was insane, the playoffs there. Every game finished less than 3 points there. NBA's gone crazy. Baseball's a little bit kind of normal right now, and I'm not too sure about hockey, but every single sport in the world is just having, some significantly an uprising in the quality of the game and the quality of both the teams competing. So it's definitely something that I think that we can get used to a little bit more. Papa John says Roosters losing was karma. Karma for what? Dasmate says most players wipe their ass for 10k. I will disagree with you. I still think 10k is a significant amount for players who have got 500,000, but it's not like the biggest chunk ever. But 10k is still something you don't want to be losing. Like 10k is still 10k, man. Zav Cow says, in your opinion, who is the current best all-round player? Best all-round player currently. So we're thinking a guy who can play in multiple positions, then, is what we'd say here. We're thinking a guy who can play in multiple positions. So you'd look at a guy like a Ben Hunt who can play in the halves, can play in the hooker role. Who else would be there? Obviously, Cleary's going to be up there, but he's just a halfback. Who's a couple of guys that can play like a fullback 5'8" kind of role? Obviously, Bremo plays there, Brem Dog Millionaire, but I wouldn't be including him here just yet. But he's severely underrated, but I wouldn't be including him here just at the moment. Who's another guy that we could probably utilise there? I don't know. Right now, in regards to the answer to that technical question, I'd probably say Ben Hunt, but I think that there's better players than him individually. But in regards to answering as a all-round player, you're probably looking at Ben Hunt. I'd say probably Ben Hunt there. Mevin says, up at the Cowboys. And Ultra says, it is karma, have to cop it on the chin. Hope 2023 is a better year. What's the karma thing about? I don't understand this karma thing. Grant Marasse says, Thurston terrorised New South Wales Blues over a decade. How different is Cleary? I think Thurston's still better than Cleary. Terry Moore says, last time Cowboys played the finals, they made it to the grand final from 8th spot. Yeah, they did. Yeah, that's why the Raiders can do it. But the Cowboys came third, so it's a bit of a different team back then. And that was 2017. They got absolutely pulverised in that grand final. That was a horrible grand final, and they got slaughtered by the Storm in that game. Memphis says, what match would you be looking forward to the most between Eels, Raiders, Sharks, Rabbitohs? Sharks, Rabbitohs for me. Sharks, Rabbitohs. Eels, Raiders has a little bit of a... could be a bit of a ball grind. I don't think it will be, but I'm just saying could be a little bit of that. Sharks, Rabbitohs definitely has a lot more openness to it. People places Latrell. Latrell's just a fullback / centre. I wouldn't say Latrell. Ben Hunt, best all-round, Brighton Robertson says. Cody Walker. I don't really rate him too much as a fullback, mate. I know he plays as a fullback, but I just don't think he's that great of a fullback overall. Munster is a good one. Jake Fortescue. Munster's a good one. He's the best 5'8" in the business and is a really good fullback when he goes back there. Maybe not. Nico Hines, another one. The man with nothing to lose. Nico Hines, another one. Plays fullback, plays in the halves. I'd still go with Ben Hunt of those guys, but because I think that the hooker halfback is a bit more important than a fullback 5'8". But I definitely agree with you in regards to that. Manu's I haven't seen him really in the 5'8", but he can play fullback centre, and apparently he can play 5'8" as well. Val Holmes is one. Bonesy Boy obviously plays wing, centre, fullback. Hasn't been great on the wing or the fullback in recent years, but we know he has been elite at that level at points. But I'd still be taking a guy who can play a hooker half over that kind of player. Good one. Somebody else says top 3 best players in the NRL this year: Chimboy, Teddy, Hunt. Well, Chimboy hasn't really played a great deal this year, so you couldn't really say that. No, I disagree with you. Top 3 NRL best players this year would be Ben Hunt, Nico Hines, and geez, that's a tough one. Who's the third? We're going to see obviously the Dally M's in a couple of weeks' time. We will be streaming the Dally M's night, but definitely Ben Hunt, Nico Hines, and then there's somebody else. Val Holmes is definitely up there. Val Holmes has been incredible this year, but I think he's not a Dally M kind of hopeful. But Val Holmes could be a top 3. Munster, yeah, Daz, you could argue it. Joe Manu is a shout as well. Someone said. I'd say Holmes is top. I'd say Holmes top 5, top 10. Yeah, Tarpanay. Yeah, Tarpanay would be there. Yeah, Tarpanay could be third. I'd still possibly say Val Holmes though for me, because I just think it's been such an impressive season for him. bounce back specifically. Jake Weller said this would be such an open final if it wasn't for the Roosters. Feels like any of those teams left besides them, in my opinion, can beat each other. I thought the Roosters could have beaten anyone as well. It's just that on the day, they just didn't get the job done over the Rabbitohs. Gabby says Roosters and Rabbitohs always have beef with each other no matter what. Of course, they're the biggest rivalry in the competition. As long as there is Latrell has nothing to do with that rivalry. Latrell has nothing to do... Well, he does, but in the same sense, that rivalry overall has nothing to do with Latrell. He's very new. The rivalry has been around for 114 years. Latrell is just another piece of the puzzle. Knowledge League says, Zempire, you should be proud of your team, though coming from 14th to 9th. Being 3rd to 8th most of the season, but just fallen off, which is unfortunate. Mighty effort, though. It's a better 2023 for you. I would agree and disagree with you. I had the Broncos for 11th, and they came 9th. So it's not too much of a significant uprising. They came 14th, they came last the year before that, but they still choked that season really, really hard. So it's a bit of a weird one. Yeah, okay, there was positives of the year, and they looked really good at parts, but also fell apart really badly. Like one of the worst chokes I've ever seen in sport, badly. So not Atlanta Falcons 28-3 at halftime against the Patriots in the Super Bowl choke, but a choke nonetheless. It was significant. So you could be relatively proud of how the Broncos were, but also there's a lot of problems there that need to be sorted out. A lot of problems. It says Ben Hunt in his Brisbane years was truly underrated, like he was lightning fast when he made a line break and scored tries. Ben Hunt's still underrated. Get my name out your mouth says, I don't know if he's still underrated, to be honest with you. He's definitely rated. Kip Johnson says Panthers Power Grand Final. I could definitely see it. I don't see you having a good day, but I could definitely see it. Terry Moore says Holmes broke JT most points in the season on the weekend. Yeah, that's impressive, man. Jake Willis is like every team left besides Panthers could lose to anyone. Yeah, even the Panthers could lose to... I don't know if the Panthers could lose to the Raiders. I think the Panthers could I could see a world where the Panthers lose to Sharks, Rabbitohs, Cowboys, and Eels. I could see a world where that happens, but I can't see a world where the Panthers lose to the Raiders. The Senpai says, Knowledge, I'm very proud of Brisbane after bouncing back from 2 horror seasons, so hopefully Brisbane and Roosters can progress further. I still think you've had a horror season, mate. I really do. I think you've had a horror season. You can't be top 4 with 4 weeks to go and then finish in 9th. Like, it's just not acceptable. I think that you've had a horror season for the opposite reason to what you've normally had, but I definitely... If that was the Titans, I wouldn't be saying I'm proud of the effort. I'm not going to lie to you. If that was the Titans, I wouldn't be saying I'm proud of the effort because they still missed the 8 and they had it locked up. You know, all the news agencies were saying Broncos back in the top 8 for the first time in, however long years. I disagree. You're entitled to your opinion, and you're allowed to have that. You can think I'm biased. I'm not being biased here. I'm saying if the Titans are in that same position, I would say that's dog shit. I would say that is dog shit of those players to give up at the most important part of the season, right? You had belief of being a top 4 team with 4 weeks to go, and you came 9th. You're not even playing finals football, and you've just seen the team that got into that 8th spot beat the Storm, right, who were 5th place. So that means you could have done that. And I have question marks. Could the Broncos have done it? I would not. I'd be okay. I'd be content with the season, is what I'd say. I would be content with that season if it was the Titans. Content is the word. Jake Vitescu says, can the Raiders or Rabbitohs win it all? Not the Raiders for me. I don't think Rabbitohs either because they have to go through Panthers. They can, but I don't see it. It's personally, I just don't see it. Yes, Nodge Luke. This season has been better for the Broncos, but okay, what does that mean? Like, okay, yeah, it was better. Yeah, they didn't come 16th or 14th. Yeah, they came 9th. But it's like, for me, overall, what are you actually taking out of this year? What are the Broncos taking out of this year? That's my question to you. What did the Broncos actually take out of this year? They got to 9th. Congratulations. They were in the top 4 and choked it up. So they couldn't handle the pressure. Can they handle the pressure next year? Are they going to get to, round 20 and then remember last year and think, holy shit, what do we do here? Like, there was no resilience. They showed no resilience, the Broncos. No resilience whatsoever. They embarrassed their fans. They really did. They embarrassed their fans. The Titans have done that to me for 15 odd years. The Broncos did that throughout the first 3 quarters of the season. They built them up. The Broncos fans are finally confident. Gordon Tallis comes out and says they're going to win the comp. And then from there, bang, 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 bang. Yeah, look, they improved, but there's still a lot of question marks, and you really have got to be disappointed with how they've ended that season. That's the thing. Like, it's all well and good to go rocketing out of the gates, but you have to complete the season, and they didn't do that. They rocketed out. We see teams all the time start off slow and then finish hard, and then their fans are proud. It's like the Titans this year, right? Start off slow, really bad for first half of the season, 3 quarters, and then rocketed home. And now the fans are feeling jolly again. They're feeling positive again, but you've got to remember the whole season, right? In the same sense, with the Broncos, they rocketed out, and then they fell apart completely, right? So they still didn't make the finals. So it's not going to be it shouldn't even be a pass mark. It shouldn't be a pass mark. I don't know why I did it the other day. Zav says, what's your thoughts on how the ladder will end up next year? It's going to be hard next year, man. A long way to go. I need to get through this final series first, man. I got to get through this final series before I start thinking about next year. Lagan Ball Saxon, considering your team talks so much shit to bottom 8 teams, choking that hard, I wouldn't be proud. So, if my team was good, I'd be pretty confident. It just is part of the game. But yeah, their team embarrassed them. Their team embarrassed them in the long run, really. And I understand why Broncos fans are going to try and spin where it's a positive season. I disagree. It's more positive than previous seasons, but I wouldn't go as far to say it's a very positive season. Gabby says, why is everyone trying to act like Broncos the best team? Like all of you guys are trying to back them up. No, that's Broncos fans that are trying to back them up. I think Knowledge of Lyrics is just trying to get someone on his side in the chat. But in the same sense, that's his opinion. Like, you're entitled to your opinion. Just because I think like this doesn't mean you have to think like this. And just like they think like this, it doesn't mean that you have to think like they think. This is a channel where you guys, this is why I react to your comments, and this is why I stream and talk to you guys, right? Because if I was just sitting here giving my own opinion, then I'd just be gassing up myself. I don't necessarily know that I'm right. I believe that I'm right. Of course I do. That's my opinion. But that doesn't mean that I am right. So that's why when I see comments like that, that's why I return with that. And then I expect, if I'm wrong, someone can tell me I'm wrong, But when you see a large portion of people agreeing with that, what's being said, that's when you're like, okay, well, maybe I might be onto something here. And then when, say, Zempire replies, I'm going to think he's a Broncos fan. So I would rather see somebody come out who's not a Broncos fan have their opinion, whether it's similar or against it. And that's why we chat like this. Guys, obviously hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new around here. We'll probably go for another, maybe half an hour. It depends on how many people are here in the chat. We'll see how we go. I've got a stream to do on BK Sport USA at 10 p.m. I'll be reacting to all the NFL games from this morning because I overslept my alarm and didn't stream the... Truck, and if you're here, by the way, I apologise, man, because I saw you comment on the stream when I woke up, and I hope you didn't wake up for it, because if you woke up at 3 a.m. for that, and then I wasn't there, and then you were just like, oh, he slept through his alarm. I feel so bad for anyone who did, because I did sleep through my alarm last night. For those 3 a.m. streams, I just have to sleep during the day, and then wake up at night, and then just stay up, because if I go to sleep at like 11, I'm not waking up in 3 hours. I actually spoke to this about this with my mate, the Kiwi lads, Hamish, the other day. Well, you just can't go to sleep. You go to sleep, you're screwed. Especially after such a really big and exhausting Rabbitohs Roosters game. You're not going to wake up. It's a fall of the season for the Broncos. Charlie John says, what do you think of the Warriors? For me, they get the spoon next year. I don't believe they get the spoon next year. No, I disagree with you. I think that the Warriors are going to have home games and they're going to be better than you think at home. I think they're going to be better than you think at home. So they're not going to get the spoon. I don't think they get the 8, but I think they'll be better than you believe, yeah. Terry Moore says it would be the first time in 4 years that Broncos made the finals. Yeah. Shink says, as an Eels fan, I can still see us losing to Raiders somehow. Yeah, I can see a world where it happens. Not underestimating Raiders, but Para just choking finals. Yeah, you've got a horrid record next week. Next week, you needed to really win that game because you guys are dreadful when it comes to week 2. Last year, you lost in the second round. Every time, you always lose in week 2. It really is a horrific record. So I really am kind of nervous. I'm kind of nervous for the Eels in total. That's why it'll make it a good game. I could see a world where the Eels thrash them, though. I could see a world where the Eels put an absolute score on the Raiders. But I can also see a more realistic world where it's going to probably be close because the Raiders were actually quite impressive against the Melbourne Storm. Their defense on the line those first 10 minutes was really impressive. NRL Stars' Broncos ended up better on the ladder, but to be honest, they still had a shocker of a season. I would not go as far to say shocker of a season. I would just say that they very much disappointed on their ambitions, is what I would say. I think they had they had realistic ambitions, which was 11th through to 8th. They finished bang on there, but they had a really positive year that really raised their... I think for me, I would say the Broncos landed in a safe position. They landed in their early season ambitions. And I would say that they disappointed on the ambitions that they built upon themselves throughout the season. So I think that if you go back to preseason, you think, okay, that's a success. Well, not a success. You'd say that's a pass mark. But based on the exploits throughout the season, that's where you start to think, okay, maybe not. Josh Ryan says, big knock on from Junior Paulo in the first 20 minutes. I think Penrith scored on possession. Cost us the Origin series, yes, still on him. Penrith versus Canberra, I hope grand final. Are you the guy that hates Junior Paulo all the time? We have one guy on here who just hates Junior Paulo. Penrith versus Canberra, I hope grand final. I would love it actually to see a Sharks versus... Who's the other team on there? Eels. I'd love the Sharks Eels. No, Sharks Eels has a bit of a weird feeling, to be honest with you. I think realistically for me, the only one that really looks good right now in regards to a really quality game is Eels Panthers. Sharks Raiders could be a really interesting one, but I don't see that happening at all. I think the only one that really looks like mouth-watering is Panthers Eels. That's realistically about it. Mouth-watering from here, but they're all still going to be good games throughout. Grant Marassi says, can Crocs 2018-2019 Roosters beat the Penrith 2020 and 2021? Probably the 2018. No, I still think that Penrith team was one of the best we've seen in a long time. But it's very hard because I had to go through player by player, man, and the game styles are so different. Jake Weller says, I honestly felt that the Eels are favourites against the Raiders and then the Cowboys as well, even with their shaky finals record. I would say that the Cowboys... there might be a shout that if the Eels win it this week, that they might be still favourites. But then again, it's in North Queensland. No, no. I think that the Cowboys will be favourites in North Queensland because it'll be at Townsville. Nosrick says, agreed, great start, poor ending, peaked way too early. And also says Titans finished the season better than the Broncos. Like, technically, they finished the season well better than the Broncos, but that doesn't mean I think that we had a better season than the Broncos. There's no chance. We had a horrid season. One of the worst seasons that we've ever had. Lucky for us, we came home very strongly in the end and won 3 of our last 4 games. But, I still think the Broncos had a much better season than the Titans. That's for sure. You got to be honest about that. Just because I'm a Titans fan doesn't mean I'm going to sit here and say, the Titans had a better season than the Broncos, because we did not. The Broncos did not finish off the season well. So if you want to specify your comment in Titans finished the season better than the Broncos, then absolutely they did. They killed the Broncos in regards to the last 4 games. But I don't really care too much about that. I care more about the entire picture. If Broncos made the finals, it would have been embarrassing with the score. I disagree. I think the Broncos would have had a chance against the Storm on the weekend. I think the Broncos would have had a chance. The Storm didn't play too well. I think the Raiders are the better team, but I still think the Broncos would have had a chance considering how poor the Storm overall played, which what we know, where they can play, how good they can play. Harry says Broncos still had some positivity, but it's still a choke. They had positivity, but so did the Titans. We both didn't make the 8. The Titans had a good end of the season, and Tanner Boyd came out and looked good. We have Kieran Foran coming in next year. Sam Verrills coming in next year. So we believe that based on those last 4 games, we just can tinker a few spots. So next year comes with this year, and we can have a bit of positivity there. So we didn't make the finals. We came in 13th. 13th. And the Broncos came in 9th. They've got the positivity from the middle part of the season. You can give positives for any team. The Bulldogs came with positives. They had a really good few games where they looked fast, they looked pacey, they looked like they were a quality team. But I believe that was because Mick Potter was the new coach and they performed for the new coach. As the time went on, they started to tinker out a little bit more and the new coach factor kind of waned off a little bit. And now they'll probably win a couple of games, maybe to start the season with Cameron Ciraldo next year. But overall, I think that the Bulldogs will come back down to earth a little bit. However, you can come up with a positive for that one. Tigers, I can't really find a positive from this year. I couldn't find a positive. Who else is there in the bottom 8? Dragons, no positive. No positive at all. They need to go into a rebuild. I'll keep saying it until it happens. If you don't go into rebuild, you're going to be completely a mediocre team for the rest of your life. For at least the next 4 or 5 years until those players are physically forced to retire. You need to go into a rebuild, just simply said. Who else? Warriors, their positive is that when they played home games, they looked pretty good for the most part. I know they lost the Titans that last game, but that was a bit of a mixture of the Titans actually seemed to be getting a bit of a stranglehold over the Warriors in recent years. Last year, they beat them 44-0. This year, they beat them 20-18, and then also 27-26. It's a good game there. It's unlucky, but for the Warriors, for the most part, played pretty well at home. Zenpai says, as it was odd, he came out with that statement, though. What did he say? I don't even know. Nelsflix says, do you think it will be an even more competitive season next year than this season? Yes, I do. Yes, but Redcliffe are going to be a bit of a team. Like, they're going to probably take a win or two against against a random team, because we have you can't go off anything with Redcliffe. When we're going into week 1 of the season next year, it is going to be incredibly tough to tip them against the Broncos or tip the Broncos against Redcliffe because you have no idea how they're going to play. You don't know their structure. You don't know their chemistry. You don't know anything. They've got no history. They've got no... they're going to have fan support for probably about 2 to 3 years. And then unless they're successful, that fan support will start to wane. It will start to go. It's like the Titans. But with the Titans, if they were successful, when the Titans are successful, they've got the entire city of the Gold Coast. When the Titans are successful, they averaged like 23,000, 24,000 crowds back in 2010. Yes, that was still a fresh vibe, but that was still 4 years after. 2007, 2008, 2009, and 2010. And they got good. Right, and then 2011, crowds are still good, but then it started to peter out because obviously the team was unsuccessful. When that team is good again, the crowds are going to go through the roof. We already averaged this year on a really poor year, 15,000 crowds. The Titans still average. That's why it was mad to me when people kept saying, like, the Titans have no crowds. They averaged more than the Roosters this year. Take away that last Allianz game. That is a big... They sold that game out because they were playing the Rabbitohs and it was a opening event. The Titans this year, barring that game, averaged more than the Roosters this year. A team that's been around for 114 years comparatively to a 15-year team. Right, so, and that was in a poor year. So that means that it shows that we do actually have people who will come out of the woodwork, bandwagons, absolutely. But every team has that. Redcliffe, on the other hand, I don't know if their catchment area is really big enough. You'd have to have people who just hate the Broncos to really get into it, unless you really cater to that Sunshine Coast area. So for me, Redcliffe, this is a bit of a, off topic to what you asked, but for me, Redcliffe are going to be really difficult to tip because you do need to obviously have that home support. You need to have those people really believing in them. And I don't know how much you're going to get that overall. It'll just be that shiny new thing that's come in there that most people get around. But overall, next year, it'll be competitive in the sense that I can see a lot of teams improving, as in Titans, obviously, Broncos, obviously, Warriors, obviously, Warriors to an extent, and a lot of those other teams that are out there. But I think the Dragons regress. I think the Tigers are still a pretty poor team. I think that the Storm will regress but still stay in the 8. I think the Eels will definitely regress but stay in the 8. So yeah, it'll be a very competitive year next year. Nevertheless says if the Broncos made the finals, it would have been probably another 59-0 over again. I disagree. Zampai says it's good that we can all have different opinions though and still talk about them. That's the whole point. Jake Fortescue says, I thought, by the way, Daniel, I would have agreed with you pre-game. Pre-game, I would have agreed with you. I thought the Storm would have put a 59-0. They would have beat them by a lot. 60-12 or 60-14, whatever the score was a couple of weeks ago. But after the game, looking at how the Storm played, I would say I disagree. Jake Fortescue says, I'm a Broncos supporter and that their epic end of season collapse undone all their hard work up until the Tigers lost. Absolutely. Absolutely right. It was positive. It was very positive. And I could be sitting here saying something completely different. I could be sitting here saying something completely different. But obviously, I'm not now. Obviously, I am here giving you a realistic opinion about how that season went. Waitron says, bro, how good was the Cowboys Sharks? It was a fantastic game, mate. A bit dead for 50 minutes. But the last 30 minutes was through the roof. Through the roof. Dasmate says, glad the Pats didn't play today. Oh, boy, they did. Zempai says, doesn't he work with the Gold Coast, though, Jazz? I don't even know who we're talking about here. Jake Wallen says, Broncos did a Dragons... Oh, Jazz. Me, Seb, Jay, and Chuck, and we're all on the street at 3 a.m. I'm so sorry. That is funny, man. Jake Wallace says, Broncos did the Dragons and we had Widdop. We did good in the first half of the season and stunk up the gaff in the second half. You're absolutely right, mate. You're not wrong. You are not wrong. Harry says, plus Dragons did only beat some easier sides. In my opinion, Dragons, same spots last year. Yeah, or lower. Not too low, but or lower. Depending on Ben Hunt, to be honest with you. Sam Levi says, Tom Burgess. Yep, Tom Burgess could be suspended for the next 3 games. Medvedev says Redcliffe will start out slow, obviously. I don't know. It's impossible to say. It really is. It's impossible to say. They could come out of the gates rocketing and then people start thinking they're the best team since sliced bread. Logan Ballsack says Dolphins will be a really mid team, I reckon, 10th to 13th. They could easily also be 17th, mate. If you finish below the Dolphins next year, it's embarrassing. Whether that's the Titans, then I'll have to accept that. But if you finish below the Dolphins next year, it's embarrassing. Joe Biden says, how far can the Rays make it? I think the furthest the Rays can make it is... I could see a world where they make it. I can't see them beat the Cowboys. No, I can't see it. I could see a world where they beat the Eels, but I still think the Eels are a much better team. But I could see a world where they beat the Eels. I don't know if I can see a world... Yeah, I could see a world where they beat the Cowboys. There's no world where they beat the Panthers, though, for me. So they need to beg and plead that the Sharks or Rabbitohs beat the Panthers for me. Tilchunga says, I don't know how these players were still running by the end of that Sharks-Cowboys game. I don't know how a guy can kick a 45-metre field goal after the end of that game. You know what I mean? Like 93 minutes in, how can a guy have the power in his legs to kick a 45-metre field goal? And also, yeah, how were they not tired? They would have been, that's the thing. But their legs, I can't believe Valentine Holmes had that power in him. Toxic Marvy says, why is Eels not in the voting option? Well, that's why I've got other, right? So the top 3 teams are there. The Panthers, the Cowboys, and the Sharks. They're all still in the competition. So if you had to come in the top 3, then maybe you would have been there. But you came 4th, so, cry more. Timmy Carter says, Dragons are a garbage excuse for a team the way they're going. I'm not going to disagree. Roblox says, how do you think that... And I hate saying that because I don't hate the Dragons, but it's just right now, I feel really about their team. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just feel there's nothing about that team that makes you excited at all. And if they didn't have Ben Hunt this year, they are even way worse than they are. Roblox says, how do you think the Raiders are going? Very good to be in 8th and to still be in the competition. Gabby says, was the field goal for Val Holmes the end of the Sharks-Cowboys a 40-metre field goal? No. Yeah, 45. That's why they won by 2. So they didn't win by 1, they won by 2. So because it was past the 40, it meant that the Cowboys won by 2 rather than 1. Minnie Gubber says, Eels win the grand final. Mate, you just lost to the Panthers. I wouldn't be so confident. Jesse Hampson says, hey man, sorry I missed the Roosters game stream. You should be sorry. I was at work. The oldies watched it, so I didn't miss it. What a game. Hard gritty game. Shame the Chooks lost. Yeah, man, it was crazy. Mate, I lost my voice after yesterday. I lost my voice at the end of yesterday's game. It was just ridiculous. NRL Star says, Val Holmes, great field goal kicker and a massive beat on him. Absolutely. Til Chunga says, I can barely kick a 10-metre field goal with fresh legs. Yeah, absolutely. I know exactly. When I was down kicking the ball with Antonio the other day, it's not easy to kick a field goal. And that's with no one in front of you, no pressure. You're just there having a bit of a fun kick around, and you have to drop the ball perfectly and then slot it perfectly. Everyone's going to post a video of them kicking a field goal, but it probably took them about 5 times to get that field goal. Jake Fortescue said, I think you were, and that's from 10 May's out. I think you're putting too much stock in Penrith. Have a look at last year's final series. They did not dominate and just scrape through that premiership. Jake, they won the premiership. Regardless, by 50 points or 1 point, they won the premiership. So last year they won, and this year I believe they'll win too. The last time they played the Cowboys, they beat them 22-0. Let's go and have a look at them against the Sharkies and Rabbitohs. Let's go have a look at them against the Sharks and Rabbitohs. A fresh team against 2 teams that have been beating the shit out of for the last 2 weeks. Let's go have a look. All right, so that was Panthers Eels. Let's go back even further. It's going to be a little bit to get here. So Panthers Warriors. Panthers Rabbitohs. Last time they played them, they beat them 26-22. The Rabbitohs. Before that, the Panthers. That's that game. Where's the next game? Actually, where can I go into? Favourites. If I click on favourites and go to Panthers, it'll come through. All right. So let's go have a look at it. I don't see where you're coming from, but I'm going to disagree. So 26-22, it's the Panthers over the Rabbitohs. The last time they played the Raiders, they beat them 26-6. The last time they played the Sharks, they beat them 20-10. When they played the Cowboys, they beat them 22-0. When they played the Raiders again, they beat them 36-6. When they played the Rabbitohs earlier on, they beat them 26-12. And when they haven't played them, that was it. So they haven't played the Cowboys once this year and beat them 22-0. I'm just throwing it out there. It's just is what it is. That's why I have a high belief in them. And they kind of cleanly came through that game against the Eels. Just because they win those games in the regular season doesn't mean that just because they win the regular season games doesn't mean shit really. It all comes down to this moment. It comes down to the finals. But your opinion's fine. Flex Storms, what is your best game of the year? Best game of the year would be, for me, Roosters Rabbitohs, easy. Hayden Dwyer says Eels will not have a chance at Moses. I think they'll get Moses to play, mate. I think they're going to put Moses in. I think they'll force Moses in. I think the NRL will allow him to play. Jaden Britton says, will Rays beat Eels with or without Moses? I think that without Moses, you might see a Rays win. So I'm going to have to wait until tomorrow. I might do my tipping video tomorrow with a live stream reaction to the team list. Because I'm going to need to see that Moses inclusion before I do my tip. Because I don't know. I really don't know. If he's out, I don't know if they can win. Jesse says, best week 1 of finals I think I've ever seen, not going to lie. It's probably the best week of finals I've ever seen, to be honest with you. Even no pressure field goals are hard. Yeah, well, for everyone who's not a professional player, yeah. To be guys, if you can't see how much more elite Penrith are compared to any of the clubs they have to face, you're clueless. I wouldn't go as far as say clueless, but I definitely think you need to have a little bit deeper look into the kind of game style they have. They will put you in your own 30 and not let you out for 5 tackles, and then you will have to kick the ball from your 30 to 35, and then you will have to be on defence from your own 50 to 45. Right, I say your own 50 because it's a bit different saying the attacking 50 to defensive 50. So your own 50, that's, you should be averaging about 10 metres per carry, right? So that's 5 carries. You should be at the line. Right, so the Panthers are very good in regards to suffocating you. And that's the difference that they have. The Sharks don't suffocate. The Cowboys don't suffocate. The Raiders don't suffocate. The Rabbitohs definitely don't suffocate. The Eels are probably the second best suffocators in regards to defense in the league. Right, and even they got pumped by the Panthers. It was close for the most part, but they still got pumped. Mitchell Moses going down was a head knock to the Eels. They lost a lot of confidence there. But overall, the Eels would have been really a lot closer if he didn't go down. But I still think the Panthers win that game. Noslick says, I just found out that time Roosters got knocked out first week was 2001. Yeah, it's not surprising. It's a long time ago. Really is to Roosters fans. Toxic Mafia says Moses is playing on Friday. I believe so too. That's what I know. I believe so too. People don't believe it, but I believe he will. Even if it's not allowed, he'll still be allowed to play. Just look at Taylor May. Jesse Hampson says Moses reckons he's playing according to an NRL post about an hour ago. I believe he will. Gabby says, as soon as I saw Jacob Arthur get on the field in the Eels vs Panthers game, I was like, hell no. Jacob Arthur wasn't the reason you lost that game. The reason you lost that game was because the Eels' heads went down once Moses went off because they thought they didn't have probably the attack in them, or it's just because he's a leader. He's probably their best player. I would say he is their best player, and he always has been their best player in this team. So people like to clown Parramatta, and I get it, but Moses is definitely still a top 3 halfback in the league. Hayden Dwyer said, it's great that Moses is playing, but Rays are certainly not going to step down. No, absolutely. And I'm being the one who's actually fighting their battle here and saying, I still think the Rays are a good team. I think people are underestimating them based on their 8th positioning, and because the Storm haven't been their best this year, but they still did very well and scored 28 points against the Melbourne team that is no slouches on defense. And also says, Jacob Arthur kicked the ball out in the full against the Panthers. I know, but he's not the reason you lost that game. Memphis says, honestly, I can't see any team getting past Penrith defense consistently. Also, given how Cleary was playing against the Eels, the opposition will have to work really hard. You're right. Jay Fitescu says, I was just talking about last year's final series. I know, Penrith lost first week and beat Rabbits by 2 in the grand final without Latrell. It wasn't as easy for them as people say. I think you put Latrell in that game, and I still think Panthers win that game. I get it, but in the same sense, I believe it. And I know that the whole game is different. I just think that the Panthers were the best team last year, and the Panthers are the best team this year. I think the Panthers are better this year than they were last year. I think the Panthers deserve that grand final. Cody Walker threw the pass. Stephen Crichton picked it up and scored the try, and game over. You give that lead to Panthers with 15 minutes to go, they aren't losing that game. So, yes, they were close. And I still think that, the Cowboys, Eels, or the Raiders would give them a good run for their money, but I still think the Panthers come out on top of that. I'm not saying the Panthers win by 40 points in the grand final. I'm saying the Panthers probably win by 2 to 6 points, or 1 to 6 points. I don't think by any means the Panthers are going to flog any team. They have an opportunity to flog the Sharks or the Rabbitohs, though. They do, based on the physicality these two teams are going to go through these next 2 weeks. Jesse says, I think the only team that can take the Panthers out of the comp is the Rabbitohs. I disagree. So if Cronulla wins against the Rabbitohs, I think Penrith run away with it. I disagree. I think the only team that can beat Penrith is the Eels. And I know the Eels lost 27-8. I just can't see the Rabbitohs beating them, especially after that game yesterday and then going against the Sharks in an elimination. And with players suspended and injured, I'm going to disagree, and I'm going to say the only team I believe can beat the Panthers is the Eels. Joshua Rasmussen says Arthur needs to beef up a little bit. I just don't think that Arthur's a fantastic player at this level. I don't. I think that Arthur is a guy that maybe is best at New South Wales Cup level at best, realistically. He just hasn't really turned out, and I think that they're going to keep playing him because he's Arthur's son. I feel horrible saying that, but it kind of is what it is. I just don't think that Arthur is the guy. I don't think Arthur's the guy. So, it's unfortunate, but that's footy. That's sport. Some guys aren't necessarily always going to work out. To be honest, the Panthers are definitely better than this year. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Jade Bruce says, who gets 6 for Australia? Cameron Munster. No doubt about it. No questions. There's not even anyone who's close to Cameron Munster. Luai will play for Samoa, and he wouldn't have gotten the job for Australia. Who else is the 6 that would take his chance? White wouldn't get it over him. Dion Brown is Kiwi. He wouldn't get over him anyway. Keary's not going to get it. Not Matty Moylan. Don't even know who the six is at the Dragons. Bremo's not going to get it. Kieran Foran wouldn't get it. Yeah, it's easy, Munster. Not even a question asked at all. Justin says, I tipped the Eels. They did seem competitive, but the next chance they have is the grand final, so hopefully they can, because I'd much rather see Penrith lose. However, I just can't see it. I can't see Penrith losing, but I think the only team that can beat them is the Eels, yeah. They beat them twice this year. It's still absolutely an opportunity. We'll go for another 10 minutes, guys. We've been gone for about an hour now. So hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you're new around here. We're on our way to 19,100 right now, and only about 900 away from 20,000, where I'll be doing a giveaway to one of you guys, or three of you guys actually. Like I said, a signed Titans jersey for the Titans fans, but for everyone, I've got a giveaway of a membership to your team next year. One membership to your team next year. So I'm going to encourage you to get out to game, support your team, and there'll be a surprise for number 3. So then we get 3 prizes given away at 20,000 subscribers. Tilchunga says Eels haven't got a utility player. Let's have a look at the team list. Eels don't have a utility player. You might be right, actually. I can't think who would be their utility player right now. I cannot think of who would be their utility player right now. Bang, Field, and it would right now it's Makatoa, Arthur, Kafusi, Madison. Yeah, they don't. Yeah, they don't have a utility player at all. And also their centre pairing is pretty underwhelming. Opacek and Penasini. It's going to be weird to see them win the grand final with the centre pairing of Opacek and Penasini. Bones Boy getting around Titans. Jasmine says, that's great since I'm a massive Storm fan since 2020. Can you also get one for my pet? A lot of Storm fans have pet memberships, I reckon. Man with nothing to lose. Bryce Cartwright. Yeah, you can throw him in there. He's not the most exciting. He's not the most exciting. He used to be. He's not the most exciting utility, is what I'd say. Knowledge League says, is Arthur technically utility? He would be, technically speaking. Jake Fortescue says, how do you see Penrith going next year, losing Kikau and Kotosau? I think that I don't know who their hooker is. They'll probably bring someone up or go to the market. But William and Kikau will be a big loss for them in the forwards. He'll be a big loss for them. I don't see them winning next year. I think there'll be a different team that wins next year. I've got them going back-to-back, but I don't have them going hat-trick. But yeah, I think that they're still going to be a very competitive team regardless, but they will regress a little bit without Apisai Kotosau and also William and Kikau, but they'll still find a way to get things done. Hayden Dwyer says the only reason Eels aren't winning any premierships is because they lack consistency. The reason the Eels aren't winning any premierships is because not only do they lack consistency, but they don't believe in themselves. They don't. When push comes to shove, they never believe in themselves because of the history. Get one mice now at your mouth says Aussie team backline. Teddy 1, Fox 2, 5 Coates. Yeah, the wing pairing's fine. I think Suwali might get in over Fox, to be honest with you, mate. I think they're going to go Suwali over Fox. I think they'll go Coates and Suwali or Suwali and Fox. But I think Suwali gets in. Trell Mitt 3, yeah, and Whiten 4 if Turbo's out. Turbo's not playing, I don't think. So Trell Mitt and Whiten. I can't think of somebody else right now. Munster 6 and 7 Chin Boy. Yeah, 7 Chin Boy. Havana Gymnastics says Nathan Cleary is the best player in Penrith. Nathan Cleary is the best player in the game. To be clear, was Tommy Turbo 1 year wonder? No, Tom Turbo's a fantastic player, but he's just very injury prone. Very injury prone. Mitch Kenny Hooker, I don't think. Like, he maybe, but I don't think that's going to win you a comp. LJ Colley says, do another Kahoot. Jeez, people love this Kahoot, eh? Guys, it'll happen after the season. I'm not going to do one until after the season. It's too hectic right now. But yeah, Kahoots will be done. Just not every week or every day. It'll be random. Otherwise, it gets boring, guys. Just remember, you got to keep it fresh. If you do it every day or every week, it's going to get boring because everyone's just like, oh, it's a bit repetitive now. You've got to separate it. That's why you can't just do it weekly. And also says, I reckon Val Holmes is a great chance at the centre for Australia. Yeah, that's a good shout. Yeah, I think Val Holmes will get in over Jack Whiten. I think Val Holmes will get in over Jack Whiten. Flex Thompson, I'd love to see the Sharks versus Eels grand final, but it won't happen. Sharks versus Eels is an odd one, but I'd love it. Yeah, a team that won in 2016 but took 50 years to win it versus a team that took 36 years to win it. However, if the Eels don't win this year, I can see them going past the 50-year marker. So, yeah, they'll be really, really interesting to see if they can get the job done there. It won't be it definitely will not be an easy one for the Eels to turn it around after what we saw this week. Methodist says, I know you think Moses will play, but if it turns out he can't, will Jake Arthur be halfback throughout all the match, or will Brad switch it up if anyone else up for that halfback role? They're going to have to play Arthur. Who else plays in the halfback? That's a good question. It's a really good question. Who would play halfback if Moses is out? You're going to have to put Jake Arthur. And I don't know if you break down the Raiders defense with Jake Arthur as your halfback. I just don't know if they can break down the Raiders defense without Mitch Moses. I don't know. Raiders could be I don't know if they'll be favourites, but they could very well deserve favouritism. Havana Gymnastics says, I have seen you at the Raiders vs Titans games with the drum. Yeah, I'm at every Titans game, every Titans home game, and I was at majority of Titans away games this year too. Next year we'll be at every single Titans game, regardless of where it is. Next year we'll be at home or away games, every single one of them, whether it be New Zealand or Dubbo or Gold Coast, North Queensland, Melbourne, we'll be at every game. Get why somebody else says Val Holmes might play for the Cook Islands. He'll only play for the Cook Islands if he doesn't get selected for Australia. Let's be honest. Timmy Carter says Raiders Rabbitohs grand final. Definitely doubt it. Put money on that, mate. You'll be a billionaire. Dasmate says Paris should just put the white flag up if that's the case. Yeah. Nozzle says, do you think teams lose fans every year that they don't win the premiership? Yeah, absolutely. 100%. 100%. But when you're competitive, you will regain those fans. When you're competitive, those fans will return. So the Eels, for example, 10 years ago, had no one. I'd even say 5 years ago, the Eels, you could not find an Eels fan alive, right? There is not a single person out there who would say, I'm an Eels fan. There's not one, right? You couldn't go down the road and see an Eels hat or an Eels scarf. You look at Parramatta Stadium and they had barely any crowds, and now they pack it all out because they're at least competitive. So it's not necessarily that you don't win the premiership. It's more to do with if you're not competitive. So every year you're not competitive, you will lose fans. Absolutely. Flex Storm says, worst game you went to this year? Titans Tigers. Sasha Kelson says, I can't see the Eels winning. In regards to play style, Titans Tigers. In regards to just simply worst game to be a part of, Titans Broncos. That was mentally abusive. Really, truly, I'm honest. Sasha Kelton says, I can't see the Eels winning with Arthur as the main halfback. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Till Chunker says they might be able to play Garth on the halves and bring Simonson back into the back line. I don't think you change your spine too much. I think you have to go with Arthur. I think you do. Otherwise, if you don't go Arthur, then you're kind of saying he's shocking anyway. You know what I'm saying? You're admitting as a club that he's not good enough. So why have you been playing him? Is the question there? Jesse Hampson says Penrith is a prime example. Their crowds are there now. 10 years ago, not as much. Panthers fans weren't the biggest bandwagoners. I'd say the Panthers, they lost a bit of crowds here and there, but I wouldn't say Panther fans were as big a bandwagon as Eels. And I'd say that the Broncos are really underestimated as a crowd of bandwagoners because they used to average over 31,000 every single game. I remember a time when they were averaging 38,000 a game. That was probably about 14 odd years ago though. But they averaged just under 40,000 and then they twinkled out to about 31,000 and now they're at like 25, 26 I think. Which is, it just shows. People don't talk about it, but it's there. Jesse Lagamorsi says 1 Teddy, 2 out of car, 5 Suali'i, Trell home centres with Munster and Cleary halves. The front row, the forwards are always the ones that get confusing. RCG and Haas front row, 9 Hunt, 11 and 12 Yo and Martin with 13 Carrigan, 14 Grant, 15 Whiten. You've already put 2 utilities. You're not going to have 2 utilities there. Lane, Finucane, and Hines. No, you've got to take one of Grant or Whiten out. You can't play 2. You have to have 3 forwards on that bench. So I would personally be going with Grant in that situation. And I think that Sean Lane probably doesn't get it over a guy like Tarpanay's New Zealander, isn't he? Who would be the other back row that I'm thinking of right now? I don't know. I don't think Sean Lane gets it. I don't think they'd take Sean Lane. I don't know if I can say it. No, I won't say it. Zenpai says, I think I saw Brisbane Broncos members hit 38k last fortnight. I could be wrong though. That's cool if they don't turn up. Timmy Carr says, Munster will leave Storm for Dolphins. Cam Smith was saying today. Yeah, I've been saying he probably does for a long time. Hudson Young's the one, Timmy Carter, that's the one. Yeah, I think Hudson Young might get it. I think Mal will go with a Raider over an Eel. Let's be honest. Nigel Luke says, how does Storm have over 40,000 members? Because they've got a lot of pets. But also, Victorians love a membership. They love a membership. Because they're very condensed there. Sydney is expansive. Queensland's expansive. Victoria is really, really chock-a-block inside. And they all love a good membership. So that's what I would say. They love membership. But it's also, they have pet memberships for their dogs and cats and, bears, lions, tigers and bears. ATC says Murray. Murray's a good one too. I don't know why you didn't have Murray in that one. Murray will make it. Murray should make it there, yeah. I don't think Liam Martin gets in. And also, Yo's not a back rower. Yo's not a back rower. You don't chuck... Yeah, I would be chucking Yo in the back row. Yo's a lock. Yo's a pure lock too. I wouldn't be... If you're not having Yo in the 13, you're not having Yo in the team. If you've got Carrigan in the 13, that's fine. But you can't have Yo in that team if you've got Carrigan in the 13. There's definitely other guys in the back row you'd be putting in over Yo. Yo is a pure lock. It also hasn't exactly probably had the best of seasons this year, realistically. Oh, you know what? We'll go to 9. We'll go 15 more minutes. We'll go to 9 p.m. So hit that thumbs up button, guys. Subscribe if you're new around here. On our way to 20,000. But we'll go to 9 p.m. So 15 more minutes to answer questions. But let's get to at least... On this stream, let's get 12 more likes on the stream. Let's get to 70. Let's get to 70 likes on the stream. Mickle says, Moses says he's healthy, so he should be able to play. Yeah, he should. He'll play. He'll play. They'll get him in, mate. They will. Shady Winner says Warden Spoons for next year. I've probably got the Knights. I think the Knights are probably the team that gets the spoon next year. They've got spoon written all over them. They just look poor. They don't look fantastic at all. And I'm a bit nervous with the Knights overall, yeah. You did not put RCG in the Aussie side. Gee, yeah. I didn't even really read it, to be honest with you. I just kind of read them out. But yeah, I wouldn't be putting RCG in the front row either. Yeah, but like I said, Yo is not a back row. But Yo's not back row. You put him lock or nothing. Ruben Cotter's a good one too, Jesse. Yeah, I like Ruben Cotter in that team. Haley Smith-Little says, do you think Eels will make the preliminary final? I'm not going to tell you my tip because my tip will come out tomorrow for you guys. But I think that they've got a really good opportunity. They've got a really good opportunity to take on the Cowboys there. But the Rays are no slouches, man. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. Jesse says, yeah, Tino will make the 17. Yeah, I think Tino Fast or Malawi probably makes it, yeah. Get why somebody now says Yo is the best lock in the game. Yo is a good lock, yeah, but Yo, you're not putting... Yo used to play back row, that's cool, but he's not making the back row for Australia. It's just not happening. There are other back rowers who play back row all year long that will go into that back row position over Yo. I think if you don't put Yo into that 13, then... Yeah, RCG is playing for Fiji, no, it's Flukes. If you don't put Yo into that 13, then he's not getting a spot in the team. I think that Yo does go into 13 as well. I think Carrigan will probably go to the bench. I don't believe Carrigan will start. I think if anything, you take Whiten out, you put Carrigan on the bench, you put Yo into the 13, and then the back row would probably be Hudson Young, which is the one. But I don't know, and I don't believe they bring Sean Lane. That back row is a little bit too how you going. It'd be Hudson Young and... Geez, who's in a back rower? Name some back rowers. Hudson Young and somebody else. I don't see Sean Lane being making the team. Thoughts on Paul Gallen fighting two people? We'll probably be streaming it on Thursday, mate. We'll probably be streaming it. Get my wife's name out your mouth. TPJ, shut your dirty mouth, Daz, mate. Get my wife's name out your mouth. Nah, Nano's too young for me to rush. I don't think you'd be rushing him into a World Cup. I think that rushing him into a World Cup too early is you could kill him. I think Nano's a fantastic player, and I think that he will make the next World Cup for sure. But I don't know if I'd be taking him to this World Cup. No, not for me. Not for me. Crichton's a shout, Knowledge Luke's. Crichton's a really good shout. Timmy Carr says, Knights last. They might sign Garrick and move Ponga to 6. Knights last still. Rise Titans, why are you addicted to the Titans? I'm from the Gold Coast and I'm proud of where I'm from. I'm not a bandwagoner. I don't get behind teams just because. Mike Casey says he's still reviewing week 1 of the NFL. Yeah, at 10 p.m, mate. Surely I put it at 10. I put it at the right time, didn't I? Did I put it earlier? I think I meant to put it at 10. Did I put it at 10 or did I put it earlier? If I did put it earlier, I didn't mean to. Shady Winston, who do you think will win the Dally M? I think that Nico Hines is a good shout. I think Ben Hunt's the favourite, but I think Nico Hines is a very good shout. Very good shout. Haley, I've already answered your question. Sims, maybe? I don't think they put Sims in. I don't know. I don't think they put Sims in. Pretty sure it's 10. Yeah, I thought it was 10. Yeah. Michael Casey, I'm definitely still reviewing the week 1 of the NFL. We're actually going to watch the hype. Shut up, Jay. I saw Dad's mate told me before. I cannot wake up 3 hours later after that Rabbitohs Roosters game. Forgive me. For the love of God, Jay. Forgive me. If I hadn't gone to sleep, I was actually weighing up at 11. Do I go to sleep or do I try to stay up? And I went to sleep, and that was the worst mistake of my life. That was the worst mistake of my life. Jay Fedescu says, Hunt for sure. I don't know, man. I don't know about that. Nico Hines in a better team, had 1 more games, and there's not many people who would be taking points off him either. Ben Hunt played for a team that would be losing, and it was losing. He'd be the only guy to really get points there. But... with that being said, I would say that he won't be getting all the points because the opposition team will be taking points. Because if I'm not mistaken, surely I'm not being mistaken here, but you only get 3 points in the game. That's for both teams. So if you're losing, you're more than likely not going to get any points. I just can't remember. I can't remember. You only get 3 points a game. You don't get 3 points each team. I think you only get 3 points each game. So if you get 3 points each game and Ben Hunt and the Dragons are losing, I don't see Ben Hunt, because the Dragons won more games in the beginning of the season and faltered in the end part of the season. So I would definitely say Nico Hines is a good shout. I think Joe Tarpane probably won't get it, Timmy Carter. I don't really see forwards getting a great deal. Usually you do see those key spine plays, but I'd love Tarpane to get it. It's Ben Hunt, Nico Hines, or James Tedesco for me, and no, James ain't there because he's a chook. He was up there before they stopped showing the points. Tedesco will be up there for sure. He's always up there. I don't think he wins, but he'll be up there for sure. It's 3-1 each game. Yeah, exactly right. Give it to 3 players. Usually losing sides struggle to get to the 2. A lot of the time, one may get the 1. Exactly right. And that's what I'm saying. So, I do so many sports, guys. Sometimes I forget this kind of stuff. But yeah, so that's exactly what I was saying. 3-2-1, that's it. There's not 3-2-1 here and 3-2-1 there. So I think Nico Hines, in a team that wins more, has a better shout. But I think Ben Hunt was leading before going behind. And yeah, I don't know. I just feel like that Nico Hines could be a sneaky. Jake Fatesky says, only 2 Dally M winners have come from bottom 8 teams in the last 30 years. Yeah, well, that should prove it to you. Can you bet on it? Let's have a look. Can you actually bet on the Dally M's? I think they stopped that, didn't they? Because you can actually have cheating, I believe. I believe that they stopped that. Sports, let's go to, I don't know, we'll go Rugby League. I don't know if you can bet on it. I don't know if you can, or Rugby League. No, you can't bet on Dally M. You can't. They must have got rid of it for, I don't know what reason, but they got rid of it for a reason. Yeah. You can bet only on the night. Well, there you go. And also, there's a lot of players who would get it, but were injured for too long or suspended for too long. No, I still think Ben Hunt, Nico Hines have been better. I think Hunt deserves it more. You're a Dragons fan. I think Nico Hines deserves it more, to be honest with you. I do. I think Nico Hines does. I think that he played well for a good team in the Sharkies, and the Sharks came 9th last year. He got them to the 8. He got them to 2nd. They were in 9th last year, and he got them to 2nd. Right? So I think the Dragons, it's all well and good. You had some miracle to get to 10th. Congratulations on getting to 10th. But Ben Hunt was in a losing side for most of the year, so I don't believe he gets as many points as Nico Hines, who was in a winning side and was one of the better players in the winning side. Bones Boys, you're a Sharks fan, Blaze. No, I'm not. I actually have no interest in the Sharks besides the fact that they're my mum's team. I couldn't care less if a Dragon won it, or a Shark won it, or a Bronco won it. I couldn't care less. It's nothing to do with me. You know, I'm a Titans fan. I support the Titans, so that has nothing to do with me. I'm not being biased at any factor there. Bella Bunnies, Magpies, and Hypercar. Hello, Bella. Jesse says Pappenhausen was a shout. However, he's in a side with about 5. Yeah, I wouldn't have seen it. He's in a side with about 5 or 6 other class players. He would have had a hard time shining in a team of diamonds. Yeah, he would have. That's why I wouldn't have had it. Chad and Nico best buy. I think probably Nico. I think Chad is also a benefit to Todd Payton. I think Todd Payton really changed his team around this year, and Chad obviously was a massive benefit from that. Todd Dragon's got 1 spot every year, Sidge says. I think that Chad was a fantastic buy, but I think that Nico Hines has rejuvenated the Sharks team that really did need a change, because they had Sean Johnson as their main guy up until this year. From a Titans enjoyer, Ben Hunt carried the whole Dragons team, and without them, they'd be butterfly on cap. That's cool. That's not how the Dally M's have won, though. The Dally M's, there's 3 points given out. 3, 2, and 1. And that's for both teams. So if you are losing, you're more than likely not going to get the 3. You won't get the 3. If you lose that game, you will not get the 3. You have to play extremely well to get the 2, because you have to be better. You have to be the top 3 players in the field. So if you're in the losing team, it's very difficult to be in the top 3 players in the field. I think people misunderstand. I don't think people really know. Hold on 1 second here. I'm getting a call. 1 second, you guys. Hit the thumbs up button and subscribe while you wait. I'm getting a spam call at 8:53 p.m. Getting a spam call at 8:53 p.m. You're joking. Go, stupid muppets. LJ Collies, have you ever been in the new Allianz? It's only been 2 games, mate. And obviously, I've been streaming. I went to the old Allianz. 4 likes away from 70, by the way, guys. 4 likes away from 70. Come on, let's get to 70 before we jump up in 6 minutes' time. But no, obviously, I haven't been to the new Allianz. It's only been 2 weeks. It's only been 2 weeks. Go watch something else. Blaze was born in Cogra. He should be a Dragons fan. I think you're muted. Can we get a mic check? Not on a Monday night, mate. No. I always get those calls irritating. Mate, at 8:54 p.m. is a bit different. Daz, mate, just drop the link to BK Sport USA. We're going to be going live in an hour's time, and we've got the actual live. So I'm going to try something. American sports are very different to Australian sports, where usually you can actually react to live game footage, right? So I think that if I put the highlights on it, you can't monetize it. I can't monetize it anyway. I don't care about the monetization. But I think if you play highlights, you can react to it with American sports. It's rugby league, absolutely not. And I don't think AFL either. But with American sports, normally you can. So I'm going to try. If I get copyrighted, I get copyrighted on that channel. But it'll be interesting to see how we go with that one. In an hour's time on BK Sport USA, we'll be reacting to today's NFL games that all went down live with the actual highlights there. Somebody says, the spam calls are so bad for me now, they are rarely spoof my number and call other people. Learn Hindi, it's great for those calls. I'm going to pass, Jay. I'm going to pass. Thank you for your offer, though. Thank you for your offer. Daniel's ball breaking. Timmy Carr says, yeah, you can. Sige says, who do you reckon will win? I'm not going to give my tips this week, mate. My tips will come out tomorrow. My tips will come out tomorrow for you guys. So definitely be here at tomorrow night when I put my tips out. What about football? No chance. No chance with football. No chance. Does Rugby Union copyright clips? Abso-goddamn-lutely. Just ask the Kiwi lads. Yes. Yes, they do. Do not put rugby clips. Who is my NFL team? Unfortunately, the Detroit Lions. But I also do like, obviously, the Chicago Bears because I love Chicago teams. I'm wearing a Bulls hat right now. But, I'm a Lions fan. We did all right today. We lost 38-35 to the Philadelphia Eagles. Paul Callahan says Panthers are winning. Probably. All right, so you got 4 minutes to go. We get your last questions in, guys. Let's get one more light to hit 70. 4 more minutes. We've actually had more people in this stream than I thought we were probably going to get, so it's good to see. There we go. We hit 70. So we'll go 3 more questions. 3 more questions, and then we'll be jumping off here. So have I ever played? When I was a young bloke, yeah. Not for the last 12 years, though. Not for the last 12 years, man. But in the NRL, have I ever played? Yeah, mate. I played the winger for the Gold Coast Titans the other day. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm on the wing. I took over Esau Muppets role. 2017 Storm or 2021 Panthers? I'm taking the 2017 Storm because they've got Billy Slater, Cameron Smith, and Kipper Cronk. That's what I'll do. I'd take Billy Slater, Kipper Cronk, and Cameron Smith, and Munster as well as a backup. Was he their 6? He went and played the fullback in 2018, but was he their 6? I know it was the original fullback guy before Billy Slater, after Billy Slater, sorry, and then Papanazzo was after him. Blaze 150-metre runaway field goal. 150 metres. I wonder if anyone could do that. I don't think so, mate. I don't think so. The NRL called Blaze said it's too unfair for him to play. That's absolutely right. Smith, Slater, and Cronk, which is something else. Yes, I'm taking him. Someone tried to say the other day that who was it was more clutch than Slater. Who tried to say that somebody was more clutch than Slater? Tedesco. Yeah, that's right. No. Just no. 2010 Queensland side versus 2010 Australia side. They're the exact same thing, mate. What are you talking about? They're the exact same thing. Guys, I'm going to jump off for now. I'm going to get ready for a stream in an hour's time. I'm actually quite tired already, but I go to a stream in an hour's time. So like I said, jump over to BK Sport USA if you want to be watching some NFL, getting into that, and reacting to that live. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Like I said, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you're around here, and I will see you guys tomorrow for my tips on this channel. And I appreciate you. Timmy. I know. Timmy Carr says Teddy more clutch than Slater. Wow. I know. Someone tried to tell us this yesterday on a stream, and I was like, no, mate. I was like, no, mate. But yeah. All right, guys. Appreciate you. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. See ya.